Hey guys, welcome to the Driftcast. I'm your host Travis, and I've got the other host Ben. Today is our first ever drifting podcast. We're going to be focusing mostly on non-competition drifting all across the world. We're based in Australia ourselves, and I have a Toyota A86. Ben has a Toyota A86. We both also own Nissans. Actually, we both also own Skylines. So
technically, yeah.
Yeah, so I own a R32 Skyline that is in Ebisu in Japan, and
I have an ER34 sedan that's based here in Australia, which is street regoed.
How modified is that?
Basic setup, so we just got like knuckles, rack forward, two-way. Soon to put a bucket seat in it. Other than that, stock boost, stock intercooler. Just keep it simple.
Yeah, that's it. I'll keep it straight too. So
that's it. That should be right.
Yeah, right. And what's done to your 86?
86 is a little bit more far gone. Stripped out interior. It's getting a half cage. It's currently going through a lot of panel work at the moment.
I didn't even know it was getting a half cage.
Yeah, it's going to get a half cage. It'd be good. I wanted to put a full cage in it, but Australian laws don't allow that kind of coolness. But yeah, I want to keep it, 90s orientated. So there'll be no interior at the back, half cage, full interior up front, and then just basic like coilovers, knuckles, refresh the 4-age, and yeah, I need new diff gears as well. But other than that, also super basic. I just don't like getting things too complicated, so when it comes time to fix it, it's real easy.
Yeah, fair enough. I think I'm pretty well the same nowadays as far as keeping my drift cars rather simple. I used to build drift cars just a little bit too crazy, and it cost me too much money, and they just broke. So my 86 is a testament to that, because it's a forged turbo motor, and it was breaking a lot. Basically every event I would have dramas.
Yeah, I remember you had a few issues with the ECU as well, trying to get that all dialed.
But again, that also comes with having an old car too. So
yeah, definitely.
Especially when you drive I guess to a level, of drifting, the wear and tear and stuff on a car is a lot higher than just a normal street car.
Oh, so. Most definitely. I mean, like even my car with stock loom and all that had heaps of issues with wiring and just earthing and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Old cars and rust.
Yeah, rust, everything getting old and worn out. So anyway, you guys are all listening. You guys all know that about drift cars because you probably own one. Well, I'd like to hope that you guys own one.
Yeah, preferably.
So tell me, what was your favorite event? Because today we're going to be doing more of a recap on 2017, because it's not predicting the future then. It's more of talking about what we have been through.
Yeah, what we did last year.
Yeah.
I don't know. Definitely 86 Day at Archie was probably
Archfield
a highlight.
Raceway?
Yeah,
in Brisbane.
That was good because it was like right after Luke moved all the barriers back.
Luke Fink. Even American guys, you guys would know Luke Fink from, and in Ireland, you guys would know Luke Fink when he came over there.
King of Nations as well. He went over there and drifted King of Nations as well. So.
Yeah.
He's been all over the place.
Yeah, and in Australia, he runs the competition DCA, Drift Challenge Australia. And it's probably the number one drifting competition in Australia at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially with ADGP
good drivers.
Winding down now.
Yeah. So, right. So what happened at 86 Day? I mean, I was there as well, so I know what happened, but...
86 Day was great. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that many 86s in Australia drifting one track.
Yeah, at the same time.
At the same time. It was ridiculous.
And the quality of cars was really good too.
Yeah, I can say most of the 86s out there were like top notch.
And for the guys that don't know Archie, that track has solid concrete walls. It is.
You come off the main straight and it's like Bahaku. You've got like the drop off and then big wall on the outside you have to ride up against. It's
You
make a mistake, you go into the wall.
Yeah, great track, but the cars that were there, in Australia, 86s are averaging about $20,000 at the moment, and to write one off into an Archie wall is probably not the funnest thing that someone would want to do.
Definitely
but the
not.
cars were really top notch that were at 86 day.
It was just ridiculous to see people out there like in their daily 86s, you know?
Yeah. Or even, you know, like some guys that I thought only had their 86s as more of a show car rather than a drift car. Like I'd personally never seen them actually drift them, but they decided to come out, which was really cool to see.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So.
Yeah. So,
and then on top of that, to be running trains like 5 cars or 5 86s in a row.
That's the beauty of Archie as well, is it's constant trains, just like Ebisu and everywhere like that. There's no stopping and waiting in a line because that is just the worst. It is the absolute worst.
Continuous laps, like, definitely puts it up there, eh? Like, gets super close.
Yeah, exactly.
Kill your tires way too fast. Yeah. Even with a 4H.
Yeah. And basically, what was your favorite car you reckon that was there other than your own? And you can't say mine because I wasn't driving, unfortunately. My car was broken. Typical.
Classic. What was it? Catch fire beforehand. But definitely the Beams 86 out there. That was rad.
Yeah.
I was like, finally, Luke's Beams 86. That
that is a really
he was going
nice
ham
car.
the whole night. Unfortunately, cut short when he blew his diff up, but that was rad seeing him out there because he finally got his handbrake working and he was actually pushing closer and closer to the wall. I think at one point he actually rubbed it.
Yep.
Which was probably closer than any of the other 86 dudes got to the wall.
Yeah.
Like, even I'm not that brave.
Yeah.
I still had to drive it to work the next day, so it's like, no.
And get T-boned on the way to work the next day.
Oh, God. It wasn't even that long after that either.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
It was so bad.
But you got hit with the truck as well.
Yeah, the truck was like 2 months before it, and then I got hit 2 weeks after it. It's just like...
Oh, God. Anyway.
But yeah, no, definitely seeing all those 86s out there was good. And then seeing all the other people jump in and drive with the 86 people not getting off track and being all scared, just like going for it the whole time, which was really, really good because you don't see enough of them in Australia anymore. Like, you get Corolla Matsuri in America, which is really, really cool, but we don't have that many.
I met the guy who runs the 86 event, Antonio.
Oh, true.
Yeah, I met him at Ebisu when I was there in November. He's a really awesome guy. He does LS Fest as well, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, true. I didn't know that.
Yeah, really awesome guy. I had a really good talk with him and was actually telling him about like SQ Engineering and their parts that are made in Australia. And he was super keen on getting some of those. So
that's rad.
Yeah, it was really cool.
But that's something that in Australia, is I wish we had enough of them left to be able to have a big event like that. Especially
to be cheap enough to afford them to be able to do that. I know that, for instance, running 386, he was talking about that on his Instagram not too long ago about how expensive they're getting. And I don't know if you know Boss_N22, I think is.
Yeah, he's definitely one of my favorite guys on Instagram because he still streets his 86.
Exactly, but if his 86 wasn't cheap enough to afford, he wouldn't be able to do what he does, you know? And it's 86 is unfortunately just getting to a point where they're just too expensive for the startup drifter. Like, for instance, I remember back when I was 17, 18, you know, you could buy a setup notchback A86 in Australia for like $6,000 and you're like, no, I'm not spending that much on a notchback. Like,
actually, because that was like right before I went to Germany. It was maybe like 4 years ago. No, it would have been over that. It would have been like 5-6 years ago now. I was looking at it. There was a silver notchback up for sale. It was like coilovers, two-way, all that stuff. And they only wanted like $4,500. I was sitting there, I was like, oh, that's so expensive. Yeah. And I got back from Germany. I bought my car for $7,000. I'm like, really should have bought that notchback.
Yeah, exactly. Well, especially considering how much notchbacks are going for these days, about 25,000 Australian.
Yeah, they've definitely
because we didn't get them for the people across the world. We didn't get notchbacks here. We only got the hatchbacks here, and they came with the 4AC motor. But
so essentially like an SR5 American one bar. We got the actual cool bumpers,
base models, basically. Or if you're in Japan, it would have been an 8.5. So
essentially,
basically, but and we only got Levin, which America only got Treno. So
That's why
I
if
think
you have a
lemons are more
Treno car.
expensive in America, and Trenos are more expensive here.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, look at that. With Rolling Shell went for what, $7,000 recently.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That was just because it had a Treno front on it.
Yeah, and it was an ADM shell. It wasn't even an imported Japanese shell either. So
Yeah, that's how ridiculous prices are getting in Australia. So.
yeah. Well, what about the favorite event that you saw on YouTube then? Because we can't obviously make it all across the world to see all these awesome events.
Unfortunately.
What would be your pick of the bunch? You know, all that comes to my mind is like the C's Garage event in New Zealand where Naoki came. Then you had even Super D, and again, Naoki was there.
Yeah, that's it.
You also had Desert Mayhan. That was an event that really went off last year.
Actually, Desert Mayhem looked really, really cool because it was they kept the whole continuous layout going.
Yeah, again, another event. It was continuous. It was set up in blocks, though. I think like certain people went out.
Yeah,
for
certain blocks of drivers,
but it was just a continuous
laps thing, and that was really cool to see because like you wouldn't have this big group of drivers do one run and then wait for 10 minutes, and you'd be off looking at something else in the video. The video was like real centered around driving and actually seeing people like push really close to the wall, like actual Mayhan style, was really, really cool.
The fact that they could do that was that it was really set up close to actual Mayhan. Like it wasn't like
we looked at a picture and went
it
for
was
it.
literally like Mayhan.
Yeah,
so,
definitely. Didn't they have like the animal style guys come out after they'd just been to Mayhan to help with that?
I think it was something like that. Yeah.
Can't remember. But yeah, no, definitely it was probably one of the closest replicas I've ever seen, if not
I think
spot
so
on.
as well.
Not spot on.
I wish we could have something like that in Australia, but I just cannot think anywhere that has the room to do something.
The space would be a big issue.
But because you need such a run up. Basically.
Yeah, and on top of that, you need somewhere that would cover you with insurance in Australia because that's a big issue here.
I still think that's an issue in America as well, but you know, some places just get away with it a bit, and probably it's state by state with insurance as well. So,
possibly.
But I think they do run into that kind of an issue over there,
Most
which
definitely.
is why most events in America aren't continuous. They're still just sent out on like solo or tandem. You know,
Yeah.
So,
Either or. That's something I'm really jealous of. They got to do that because that looked really, really, really fun.
Yeah, I would if I couldn't go to actual Mayhan, I would definitely go there.
100%.
Yeah.
That looked so good. Like,
yeah. And it had some top level drivers, like they had Forrest Wang. I'm trying to think of who else was there, but I know that there was a couple of FD drivers that were driving even their FD cars.
yeah, I saw a few FD cars out there, and then I heard about a few other like pro level drivers out in there, like practice cars and stuff.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Then there was some of the guys that have like quite notable cars in the not amateur, I guess you say, but non-competitive community that were out there as well. Like for instance, like animal style type cars, you know, that kind of
like the Hot Boy style stuff.
Yeah, like real cool type, and which I guess is what we're more into and want to talk about. And yeah, those type of cars were there as well, which is really good to see at an event like that.
Yeah, it's good to see them mixing together. You know, like that's
Definitely.
something that I think is not getting done enough. You know, people are trying.
Yeah, like for instance, I've heard some at Final Bout last year. I think some of the FD guys weren't even allowed to enter the event because they were affiliated with FD basically, and they were just too corporate. And I'm like, I'm kind of against that. Like, if you're a good driver and you got a solid car and your car like looks the part, like for instance, like Forrest Wang, like he's probably the closest hot boy in FD.
He's definitely got the coolest car in FD. I mean,
and he
right there proving
totally
you don't need to
allowed
have a
go
car
to
that's
an
like
event
3 meters in the air.
You
can run something like that. That's cool.
He should be allowed to go to an event like that.
Most definitely.
You know, like his car is cool enough. Just because he's got sponsors doesn't mean that he shouldn't be allowed to go. So.
No, I feel like they shouldn't be discriminating against drivers so much more as like the corporation itself. If they really wanted to get down that.
Discriminate against maybe cars. Like, I guess if you didn't want them to come in their FD car, you know, and you wanted to keep it more of a low key. But I mean, who doesn't want to see 1,000 horsepower, you know, like smoking it on such a small track? Like, it would be so different on such a technical track.
100%.
But anyway, we don't want to really talk about FD.
No, but yeah, no, it was just cool to see like a good mix of cars driving together, because that's what drifting is about, just having fun with everyone. It doesn't matter what your car is, if it's a comp car, if it's just like a show car, as long as you're out there like driving and having fun, man. Like,
well, that's the thing. I watched the video about Super D in America, the American Super D that Naoki came to, and there was a big thing in that video that was like, oh, fuck FD, and we don't care about them, we just want to drift, and FD's ruining everything. But when Naoki in that video actually went to the FD event, the only thing that he said was he just wishes he was driving. And I don't think that was emphasized enough in that video. It was so totally against FD, and it's kind of like trying to portray Naoki as totally against FD, but the dude just wants to drive. Like
100%. I feel the exact same way.
I feel the same. Like, if someone handed me the keys and said, hey, Travis, come drift at FD, we won't pay you, but we'll give you a car and pay for all your tires and fuel, I'd be like, yeah, I'm down. Like,
yeah,
100%. And I think Naoki's in the same boat.
Oh, 100%. Like, yeah, because I think they were sitting there kind of like, don't LS swap this for Formula D that, and Nakamura's like, like, I like American style. It's different, I was like, I want to try it. And I want to drive a V8 car. And he went out and he had fun.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's exactly what it's about. And
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, especially at the end when he did that interview. Yeah, he was talking about it. I just want to drive.
I literally remember he was standing at the fence of like when all the cars were going past in FD, and he literally just turned around and said, I just want to drive. Like,
yeah.
So
100%.
Yeah, definitely. We don't want like hate towards FD, but we don't want to talk about FD because there is another drift chat, Maximum Driftcast, that does talk about FD. So go listen to that instead. But speaking of Super D, that was awesome. That legit was probably one of the best YouTubed events of the year. I would say, like,
definitely,
that was a top-notch event.
Yeah, like. On top of that, Grange looks like an awesome track to drive too.
Yes.
Like, it's got that fast straight, and then you got the tight technical stuff.
Really
it's like
Japanese style
like
track.
Mayhan-esque type thing.
Or even like the one that starts with N. Nico
Circuit. Yeah, you got that big fast entry into like that. You got to pull it up and go through the tight section. Yeah, no, definitely. Grange looks like an awesome place to drive, and on top of that, having all the showy cars going past them.
Yeah.
I did enjoy it. 100%. There's a reason there's chrome wheels on the Skyline.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, no, 100%. It was like definitely one of the most cool events to watch.
Yeah,
I think.
For sure. I totally agree. Yeah. So, well, speaking of, is there any notable drivers or teams that you can think of that I think are worth mentioning that maybe came out last year or...
I feel like a team that didn't get mentioned enough last year would have been MCR Factory. Yokoi drives so well, and he was driving in heaps of events last year.
Yeah.
And like, you'd only ever see the occasional video of him pop up, but he drives so well. He's almost on Nakamura level, and you see them at Makawa Sportsland all the time.
Yeah.
Practicing together, and it's like, he's the exact same. He follows Nakamura how Nakamura follows him, and it's like top notch to watch.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the MCR boys also drive really, really well, but you just don't get out there as much as Team Burst.
Yeah, that's it. I personally was at Ebisu in November driving, and the Burst team is massive. There are so many cars in the Burst team.
Yeah.
And they are crazy. Like, they're literally like, if they were Australian, they would be the biggest bogan Commodore drivers.
Oh, 100%. Remember when Nakamura came to Matsuri 2014?
And all you want to do is foot-ons?
He was doing foot-ons everywhere. Like, came out of the pits, foot on. Marshall comes up to him, foot on.
Yeah.
It's like, gets back to the pit where he's parking the car up for the night, foot on in the shed. And like,
he just needed to be given the keys to a Commodore. Like,
essentially.
Seriously.
Like, he was just in his spiritual homeland.
Yeah.
He was meant to be born in Australia.
Yeah, I really think that, it's his like second home.
100%.
But like even at Ebisu, like that were crazy. Like one dude spun out and one of the Burst drivers just went out and started doing donuts in front of him. No, he crashed. He crashed on Minami.
Oh,
and
geez.
then someone, while they're trying to like, get the guy out of the car and, make sure he's all okay, one of the Burst people is like doing donuts in front of him, like without a helmet on, which is totally like not allowed at Ebisu. And like just crazy. Bogans, such Japanese
bogies.
They really are. But cool to watch.
Oh, 100%.
Especially when they do their trains and stuff and on North Course, insane. Like on the Saturday night, like that is just something that you just have to go and experience. And as well, I think with Naoki, he gets people that are driving like that don't even know him or, like know him personally or in Team Burst. When Naoki's out on the track while you're out on track, you just kind of feel like you have to drive harder. Like, I don't know, there's just something about his like aura, I guess, or his personality that just makes everyone out on track just like push that 120%, like they don't hold back when Naoki's out with them. Like,
hells yeah.
Yeah, even Daigo and everything. And did you see their crash on Facebook and YouTube with Daigo on chasing Naoki on Minami? Man, that was gnarly. That was fast.
Dude, how much air did he get when he hit that back wall? I was like, that's going over the back for sure. I don't know how it didn't.
Yeah, and like, because when you're at Matsuri on Minami, they actually put a concrete barrier so you can't actually hit a D1 line during Matsuri.
Yeah, I heard about that.
To stop people going too fast. But goddamn, those guys were going fast. It was just mental to watch the speed that they were able to get. But I think Daigo's car was like a 700 or 800 horsepower car.
If it's the same one as like what he had back, like way back when.
But does Daigo ever drive anything with like less than 500 horsepower?
Well, that's what it was. It was his old D1 motor, and they were just like, let's throw it in a JZX90. Yeah. And then you put coilovers in it and went to Matsuri. I was like, you took a D1 motor?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure he's probably just kept that whole thing. It was like, I've got an old D1 motor. Let me throw that in my muscle car and go drive Ebisu.
Yeah. I totally think that Naoki's really pushed through a lot last year. Like he was infamous, but I think with the few events that he went to last year, he really upped the ante, I guess, around the infamousy that he has. Maybe
Most
a lot
definitely.
of people that don't or knew about him but really didn't know too much.
Yeah, didn't really know a whole lot of the story.
Respect him that much. Now I think after last year was like a really big year for him, I think. And I'm looking forward to seeing if he ups it again this year, that would be really, really good. But again, everything costs money. It costs money to fly a guy halfway across the world to do some events.
Most definitely.
So, but it would be, I'm interested to see this year, like what really happens with some events. Like I'm hoping we get some really top-notch events.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I'd also wouldn't mind seeing him drive a bit of competition. Like, I know I'm not a big competition guy,
I don't know
but
when he can drive because he must, because he lost his license in Japan. I don't think he's allowed. He doesn't hold a car license, I think is the reason.
he is still allowed to compete in D1 SL. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, really?
Way back when. Yeah, it was when he got done street drifting like 6 years ago.
Okay.
And that only became a thing because unfortunately there was Yakuza nearby and it became a big thing in the news.
Right.
That's when he had his D1 license revoked. But as since then, it's been given back to him. But he just doesn't drive as much. I guess maybe a sponsorship issue with the whole background.
Yeah, after seeing him drive with Daigo on Minami, which is like a major D1 course, it was really, I guess, piqued my interest a lot more to see him in competition. I would really like to see.
I mean, he had that competition S15 that he drove. Was it King of Nations in Japan?
Yeah.
And that was ridiculous to watch. It was fast. And I think it was SR powered.
Yeah.
It was just good to see like something that wasn't, big motor swap. But
Well, he went to a big motor swap in his normal car
in
as
the
well.
S14 in the 1J.
And then went back to the
and then went
SR.
back to SR,
Yeah.
But definitely would be cool to see him do some bigger competitions like consistently just to see how he stacks up
Yeah.
with some of the more established drivers, I guess.
Yeah. Especially guys that still do like non-competition drifting a lot, Not too much interested in the guys that only do competition drifting, but Daigo, man, he's out at every Matsuri,
He drives heaps of stuff.
Yeah, and he's definitely a fan favorite, I think, as well. So, what about another event? I guess speak more about Naoki's last year, we might as well finish that off with the Seas Garage event in New Zealand. Like
that was ridiculous.
That was a ridiculous event. I don't know how many people from, say, America actually saw the videos from that event, but man,
well worth it. Go search it.
Worth the Google search for that one.
Yeah, 100%.
Naoki's driving was, again, just top notch on that event. He just hopped in the keys given the keys to this kid's daily R31, and first lap he had it like a centimeter off the wall, and I don't know how he does it. Like,
it's just next level. Hey,
it is like, to know how long a car is without never driving that car before is just. Yeah, wow, next level.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I'd be way too scared, eh? You get in someone else's car and you're just like, oh, just baby this next minute. It's like far off the wall.
There's no such thing as babying a car, no matter whose it is, I think, in Noku's mind.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. But yeah, like him and Mary was crazy. And then he went to Hampton Downs the day after and he had the Seas Garage S13.
Yeah.
And he was chucking backies off it and like dirt dropping on entry and stuff. That was nuts.
True Japanese style driving, I think.
Oh,
like
100%.
That's like
all speed and just
which is what I love. Like when I drive East Course in Ebisu, you're only allowed to drive that on the Matsuri weekend. So basically, I spend all day Saturday on that track, and I have my 32 over there is only stock RB20. It only has exhaust and a front mount. I think the boost is at about 9 or 10 psi. So it's not a crazy car like by any means, but driving that thing so fast down that main straight and just throwing it at my friends that are recording on this little tiny wall, that if I hit them, I would flip over the wall and just destroy them, and take off their heads. But that's just the thrill of Japan, I guess. Everything's just at your own risk. There's no safety shit. But
it's like, wear a helmet. Don't aim for the tires. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. No, you got to aim for the tires.
Yeah. But like just driving fast over there, man, it's wow. There's that track. East Track is probably the most favorite track I've ever driven on and probably ever will drive on by far. I go through a pair of tires with that really low power RB20 in the dry. I'll go through a pair of tires which are 16-inch Kenda Kaiser KR20s. I'll go through a pair of them in under 15 minutes.
Wow, dude.
And that's giving probably like 7 minutes of that is cool down laps as well. Like I got to give some solid cool down laps in that time. So I'm even heat cycling the tires as well by doing that. And man, that's straight. There's just nothing better. Like you can click fourth if you game and you're still just
fire out.
Like, it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have to get over there and experience that.
Definitely. It's getting so expensive, like for instance, I don't know if other people know how much it actually costs to do like 7 days at Ebisu. But for me, trying to do it as cheaply as I can in a low powered car, but still not to the point of where I'm like budgetos, like I'm not just living off like $1 ramen every day, and like, trying to conserve my tires as much as I can. I'm still being like somewhat conservative, but not like, no, I can't drift this corner because I don't want to use my tires. Yeah. But even still, that including flights, which by the way were only $600 return. In Australian, it was $13,000 for that trip, and I already owned the car. So it's not cheap.
It's not cheap
I've
at all.
done 3 of those, and I'm like, man, that's a solid house deposit. Like, yeah, but worth it.
It looks it.
I could never go to Ebisu to just watch. It's something. If you go, you have to drive, or at least go passenger.
Yeah, I feel like once you've started driving, you've really got into it. It's really hard to go anywhere and just watch it.
I can't stand watching stuff you get for too long. Like,
yeah, you get too G'd up to actually drive.
And then doing skids out the front. You get pulled over by the cops.
And then it's like all over. It's like buy license, buy car, everything. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's definitely like that, because like even watching you drive all day sesh for like the short time that you got before your car decided it wanted to play up.
Yeah.
Like, that got me G'd up so much. I was like, I just wanted to drive,
Yeah, totally. Speaking of all-day session, let's talk about Queensland Raceway. Obviously in Queensland. This is in Australia. We're in Brisbane. It's probably about an hour from our house, if that. Maybe.
Yeah, it's about 45
I think
minutes.
it's only half an hour from my house. But
You're lucky. I still got to drive through the middle of the city.
yeah. So it's a really fast track. So it's not really a beginner's track, I would say, at all. Like, not even.
Well, if you were to drive it flat out, not really. But, the middle section is not bad for beginners.
It's still a struggle for beginners, I think, that are like still learning how to drift. I mean, one of my friends is still trying to learn how to drift, and he's struggling. But I mean, I think it just takes a lot longer to get it than doing it at a more technical track. It's just not designed for learners, but it is designed to drive fast.
Oh, you can definitely get some speed up there.
Yeah, like I'm clicking fourth gear on before entry. On turn 2, which is the second fastest corner. Turn 1 is after the main straight and it's the fastest. And I would be doing like 160 into that turn 2, and if my car could go faster, I could go faster. Like, it's a fast track. I'll go down in fourth gear in my 8.6 all the way down until I enter what's called dipper, which is the turn after turn 2. And I'm fourth gear munging that back straight and then back into third and fourth gear for the rest of the track. Like, your car isn't turbo, so you're not going to be doing that. But it'll be interesting to see what it's going to be like in your Skyline.
Yeah, I'm very interested to give that a go.
You just have to grow some balls, I think, and actually click some gears. But
I'll try third gear to start with, but it's a much larger car than the
it'll be, your lines will be totally different as well.
100%.
Like,
I feel like we actually had to hold all of dipper rather than trying to use just the momentum, because I was in the 8.6, you'd come out of turn 2. And I don't have power to do the whole manji and keep it going. So I'll be like flat chat out of turn 2, third gear, flick, and I'll be doing like 140. And I'll just like let it slide the whole way across that straight section into dipper, and then you bang second. Yeah. And then just hope you make it all the way through the actual dipper section. And then you back up to third for the rest.
Well, for instance, I've also got a 180 SX, which is a 240 SX for our American listeners, but it's only got an RB20 in it, so I tried to keep it as similar setup as I could to my 32 in Japan, and it's a very basic car. Like, it has blown up coilovers that are absolutely dead. When you drive in a straight line, it kind of goes all sideways.
Watching that was very interesting.
It's pretty sketchy to drive, but I can click fourth gear, I think, in that car as well, coming into turn 2. But again, that's only an RB20. Like, you don't need heaps of power. It's definitely more inclined to just driving fast. I really hate seeing guys come to QR that have really high horsepower LSs or 2Js, and you'll see them
drive up to the corner, slow down, and then just kick it. The
worst one, I think, is when they do a mungie off the start line. Like, you're doing like 30 Ks an hour by the time you enter the actual corner. It's like, man, that's the most boring thing to watch I've ever seen.
Well, so many people did that when I was marshalling for
But then the worst ones, again, are the ones that mangy from the start, and then they'll straighten before the corner
and then just like rail the handbrake and then just sit there, and it's like, we've hit about 20 Ks, drop the clutch, and it's just like smoke show.
It's terrible. It really is. It really is terrible. But that's, I guess, what some people live for. I live to go fast.
Yeah, definitely more
I feel like I'm more out of Talladega Nights. Go fast.
Yeah, definitely way more enjoyable going quickly, I think.
Yeah, I think that's why I like driving lower power cars, even though my cars aren't NA. My 8.6 will be, but probably by the end of the year it will be a 7H, but I still just like driving lower power cars. Like, for instance, in my 32 at Ebisu, I took one of my friends out who's Japanese, and he has a S15 and a JZX 100 in there. I think the S15 is about 500 horsepower and the JZX 100 is 650 to 700. Wow. And I scared the crap out of him with how fast I was entering on North Course. He was just mind blown that I could do that. Like, he was literally making a cross with his hand on his chest before every lap, which I thought was really cute. But and then I went for a ride in his car, and like, man, the power was there, but he would handbrake between every manji, basically. So like you'd manji this way, grab handbrake, then grab handbrake the other way, and it just really took, like, he could flatten the throttle as soon as he came off handbrake, but then he'd grab handbrake again before he got back on throttle again. So it's like slow, fast, slow, fast. You know, it just feels wrong. And compared to just driving, like, my foot is just absolute foot down and just
flat all the
I'm
time.
literally, instead of grabbing handbrake on each manji, I'm actually kicking the clutch each manji.
I know this feels.
Yeah.
I know all this feels.
But you're in an NA. I'm doing that in a turbo car on
You're
North
nuts.
course, man. Like, and yeah, I think I was leaving it. I can't remember if I was clicking. I think by the end of that week, I think I was clicking into fourth gear around that back corner. It was either third or fourth. I can't remember, but because one of my mates there was just like, hey, just try this, you know, see if it works. It kind of sounds like you're sitting on limiter, so just try grabbing another gear. And I think I ended up leaving in fourth gear the whole way down the straight on North course, and then leaving it in fourth around the back corner, and like it was just a smoke show. Like that poor little RB20, like she was heavy breathing,
I bet.
breathing. I think so much that oil was coming out my blow-off valve, but so figure that one out. But
Yeah, that's what you want.
Yeah, that was it's different, that's for sure. But the blow-off valve's right in front of the headlights as well, so it's actually oil dripping down the headlights. But,
Dude.
good times.
Yeah, it's fine.
A
You don't need
solid
those.
car, you know. It's so hard to find a very reliable car at Ebisu. In Japan as a whole, really, they're so flogged. Like,
Yeah, unless you get something rebuilt properly and done.
Yeah, it's a
again.
lot of money though.
But
like,
then that's all money. Same as here. Like you try and buy an out of the box drift car, and you're not gonna find very much. You know, like everything's been used, or before P plate laws were abused to like no end.
Yeah.
It's just-
yeah. Well, even if you want an NA S13 in Australia, you know, you're looking at like $8 or $9 grand. I know that one of my friend's brothers just sold his for $9 grand.
yeah, P plate attacks here.
It had hectic shaved door handles, man.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Yeah, like it was straight out of 2004. But, you know, and it sold for a lot of money. But, and even when you consider car prices in Japan as well, for instance, I paid like $4,000 for my R32 when I first bought it quite a few years ago. But nowadays, Power Vehicles wanted to actually buy that back from me, but it had a damage on the back, so they were kind of iffy about it, and they didn't really. They decided not to, basically, and I probably wouldn't have sold it anyway. But they're basically selling nowadays. If you want a car set up exactly the same as my 32, a very basic car, like I would call it, I guess, a stage 1 if you wanted to do it in that kind of thing. Like it's
Yeah.
not a competition grade car at all. You couldn't even do like an amateur event in that, you know.
Just to go out and have fun car.
It's a fun car. It's a missile. Like it still looks pretty, but it's set up like a missile. And but if you wanted that now, if you were to go to Ebisu now and buy that car, it would look about $8 grand. Like
Yeah, that's a fair bit of money. Yeah,
it's a fair bit of money. Like, and I remember like when I bought my car, like if you want a JZX90, you know, that was like $5 grand, and I'm like, no, I'm not paying that much. Like, no way, you're kidding yourself. That's way too much. But now they're like 10 grand, and I'm like, oh, I should have bought one.
should have grabbed one of those.
Yeah,
Could have had the one, Jay.
and I went in a Chaser actually when I was at Ebisu, and a JZX 100, and I used to own a JZX 100, but I never drifted it, and crazy at Ebisu. Like, you do not need more power than that there. Like, that was crazy. Like, so fast. Like, if you drove it properly and, you know, you weren't handbraking every manji, it felt like a 400 horsepower car, even though it was only a relatively stock JZX 100.
Yeah, like boost up and an intercooler.
Yeah, and an exhaust, like, and that's all, and a two-way. That's all it had. That's pretty much what every car needs at Ebisu. But man, it was fast. Like, there was no comparison side by side to my car. But then you have other people there, some people that a lot of people know about, that I'm not going to name drop, but they had their Chasers there, and goddamn, they drive slow. God, it was. I would come in my 32 into the corner, or the entry corner at North Course, just before you hit the main straight, and I'm absolutely just banging gears, throttle down to go as fast as I can, and then I just kick the clutch. There's no handbrake. You just kick it just as you come past. There's like some traffic lights, and just as you see those traffic lights, you kick the clutch and you flow into the corner, and then you munge down the straight, etc. But other people would just get really scared to not go too fast, but and like I would literally have to almost brake. Even if I left quite a large gap, I would still have to brake by this, or at least let off to like 50% throttle, which would totally ruin my run. It's just, it just really annoys me when people have the power of a car to go faster than me, but they're going slower. Like, it should at least be going the same speed as what I'm doing in my low-powered car.
Yeah, something
like, it's just, I don't think people push themselves enough. Like, I think the biggest thing with drifting is you can go so much faster than what you think you can go.
Well, yeah, I think, like,
and
if you're
do
practicing...
not think I'm the best drifter in the world, because I'm far from it. I'm pretty average. But
no, but, like, seriously, if you go to Ebisu and stuff and your car's not, you know, registered on the street, you don't have to drive it home. I mean, isn't that the point? You want to try
exactly. Especially if you've got a cage.
Don't even have to go, like, fast. I mean, just, like, start working up in increments, but then if you're staying there the whole time and they're not getting any quicker, because I know I've had issues like that at QR.
Yeah, it's like hitting
in the
like
86, you give them like
weightlifting and they're not gaining any more mass, or they're not able to lift anymore. You got to keep pushing yourself. You can't just go, oh, I'm comfortable here, I'm going to stay at this level. You know?
No, just like small increments, like just push yourself a little bit further.
But even to try something different, you know, like my friend told me to go, oh, try clicking in another gear. And I did, and it worked. You know, you'd be so surprised at what you can do.
I mean, that was like 860. Like I was coming into that hairpin, like using all the handbrake, and then you're like, oh, try foot brake. And that worked so much better because I could keep the revs up. Yeah. And being a 4H, it wasn't any...
pulling the front around a bit rather than trying to throw the back out.
Yeah, that's it. And because like 4H, there's no torque or any power there, so it was just keeping it going. It was
it worked out. Weight shifting it through there rather than slowing down through there.
Yeah, so much better. And it's like you just sometimes need to like find the little things to push yourself.
Yeah, but I think at a place like Ebisu, where you're literally drifting from 8 a.m. till 4:30 p.m, and these people in question were actually there, I think, for like 3 weeks or something. Like they were there for quite a long time.
Yeah.
But even by the end of their time, they were no better than what they were when they arrived. At least from what I could see, I wasn't watching them the whole time, but every time I drove with them, they were just terrible, basically. But, you know, I guess not everyone gets their comfort zone. Everyone's at a different level in their mindset as to what they can do. But it's just, I don't think it's a good look for the people that follow them and really think that that's how you should drive. I know that there's a lot of things in America where guys think it's normal to handbrake between munchies. Like, that is so common. Like, yeah, you can do that in like an FD spec car where some of those cars actually gain speed when you are on the brakes rather than on throttle, because they've got so much grip that when you're actually off throttle, it kind of launches the car forwards. So they have an excuse to actually using foot brake and handbrake a lot more than what you should be. In low-powered cars, there's very rare times when you should even be using handbrake.
Yeah, I mean, up until the point where I got the Skyline, I've never done a handbrake entry in my life.
Yep.
Like the other night when we were out testing it at the small track, like that was the first time I've ever used a handbrake.
Yeah.
And yeah, like that's the thing is like 8.6, I've never done it before, bar maybe mid-tandem to pull up from someone, but never been in entry.
You use it to like balance yourself, you know, between them.
Never entry and never mid-manji or like... anything like that. It's always been like margin clutch kick.
A little bit different at QR when you are running your R34.
Well, I'm open-minded to that. Like, I'll probably need a bit more handbrake.
But at the same time, you don't want to always keep using handbrake, because you want to get to a point where you don't rely on handbrake to actually enter.
I kind of want to experiment a bit and see if I can drive it more like an NA car.
Yeah.
And just, you know, enter much quicker and then... it's like use the grip and the momentum.
Even just to tap a bit of left foot brake and try and power your way through that way.
Well, that was the idea, because that's all I've done with the 8.6 is like, you know, you come into turn 6, you just flick it in and you just like tap the foot brake to keep it in line.
Yep.
But we'll see how it goes. It's a very different car tomorrow.
It will be.
So-
It will be. And every car is different, and every person is different as well. Like, I'm annoyed at the way that some of these people drive like that, but I'm not annoyed at the person. I'm annoyed at they're seeing this in all of their forms of media. You know, it's not very often that you would see an in-car footage of, say, Naoki.
No, not
I
at
don't
all.
think I've ever seen in-car footage of Naoki.
The only in-car footage I've ever seen has been like completely Japanese titled videos somewhere in the dark section of YouTube after I've spent like the whole night watching D1 or something.
If you're a normal person, you'd be well and truly into the cat videos and everything like that. Like, no, totally. But I think that because so many more people are seeing competition in car drifting, they're not getting the right ideas for when they're driving their cars, because their cars aren't 1,000 horsepower with so much grip. Like, those cars lift 3 wheels. Like, they pick up a wheel, you know, in
it's
FD.
nuts.
They're totally different to a normal chassis. So, and I think a lot of people just have to stop trying to mimic that driving style, especially in America. I think it's really common over there. And hopefully, I think someone really needs to do some more in-car footage of driving normal cars. And, you know, I guess a lot of people have probably watched the Tsuchiya videos, that Drift Bible thing that came out a long time ago.
That's another thing though, is like the Drift Bible came out a long time ago.
It
like
needs an update. It really needs a refresh. It's changed so much since then. You know,
100%.
Someone really should do a redo. I'd love to see Naoki do that.
But can you imagine, like,
Or Daigo.
or just a group one between them both? Be like, Nakamura and Daigo Sato's Drift Bible 2018.
Oh my god!
Can you
I would
imagine?
pay for that.
100%.
I would buy like Amazon Prime if that was on Amazon Prime. Like,
That'd be so good.
yeah, but maybe that's an idea for all you listeners out there. Someone do an updated Drift Bible. You know, do it in option-esque. Like, that'd be
really cool.
Ooh, that's an
Retro
idea. You
style.
make a lot of money. I'd buy it. I'd buy it. If someone makes that, send it through, because I'm keen as for that. But yeah, hopefully people just take, I don't know, I guess the takeaway from our points talking about there is try something different. Stop doing what you're comfortable doing. You know, try entering the corner 20 kilometers faster. Try picking another gear. You would be so surprised at how fast you can enter a corner. You can wash off speed in an instant, like absolute instant.
Yeah.
Like,
especially if you're running like decent tires and stuff, you know.
Practice solo. You know, first off, don't try and learn something new or try something new in tandem. You know, it's not going to work out well unless you are following someone that you want to drive like. You know, who you know has really good style and they flow really well, and have a similar power and setup car to you as well, that you can just mimic them. Like, that's actually how I learned to drift, was just following one of my friends who actually won the Drift Challenge Australia. I think it was 2 years ago now, and he got flown to Kia Nations in Europe. But my first ever time drifting was actually at Ebisu. I had never pulled handbrake. I'd never kicked clutch. I just bought my car off about 5 photos I think I looked at and sent Power Vehicles my money and hoped for the best. And
that's brave. That's very brave.
It was very brave, you know, like and that first trip cost me, you know, that $4,000 for the car. But back then, you know, there was no guidelines on how much it was going to cost me. And it cost me about 10 grand back then to do that trip. I used a lot less tires. I used a lot less fuel because I was very much so learning.
Yeah.
But all I did was follow my friend who I knew could drive. I wanted to drive like him. He also has an 8.6. He had an S13 at Ebisu, and he's just been driving for so much longer than what I have. He was probably drifting before I even got my license. And he actually used to drive with Bo Yates up in the hill. Like, they had 8.6s and they used to drive together.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
that's actually really cool.
Really OG Australia stuff there. But back in Drift Australia times, wow.
Oh.
I bet you half the people who listen to this probably have never even heard of Drift Australia. But anyway, it's the best way to learn, I think, for anyone who is listening to this and wants to learn how to drift or how to drift better, is just copy someone else. Like, just follow them and figure out what they do. You know, go in the car with them, watch what they do, and really, you know, take note of what they're doing and how the hand positions are, how much steering input they're giving. I think that's a big one when you're learning is people give too much steering input.
Way too much.
Not enough throttle input or too much throttle input or that's a whole nother kettle of fish, that one.
But definitely, you know, go in other people's cars, even get people that know how to drive to come with you. That was a big thing for me is when I first started, like I had a few people come in the car with me and they're like, oh, we're noticing you're doing this, like try this instead.
Yeah.
Oh, you're cutting it really shallow here. Why don't you try going a bit wider there?
Yeah.
And like, that's all I needed was just, you know, like helpful pointers. And then all of a sudden it starts like coming together. And even watching like videos of people online, like Aweo, the 8.6 driver, one of my favorite dudes to watch.
Yep.
And like, that's where I got all my 8.6 driving style from, like where I noticed people like use the clutch to transition. I got that all from just watching videos of him back in the day. Like him in his old panel van up in the hills. That was intense to watch.
Yeah.
But like that's it, you know, just copy someone else.
But even I think when you're actually, you know, I think even the guys that are listening to this that are been driving for quite a while, you know, and they're even confident in their skills, you can always get better. And I think you can get better by going with someone as well as trying some other chassis and motor packages, because going from like a V8 to a turbo is totally different feel. Like
most definitely.
And an NA to turbo, you know, say you've been driving for the last 4 years in a turbo car and you're quite happy with how well you drive in a turbo car, try driving an NA, because I think you would be really pushed to your limits and you actually learn a lot more by actually driving in a NA car versus what you're used to, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a totally different style. Like turbo car seems to be able to just sit there and you don't have to stress too much about your corner speed.
No,
because that's what I noticed about the 34 is like, if you go in a bit too slow, you don't have to stress. You can kind of be like, oh, I'll just give it a little bit more and just, you know, a bit of steering input and you'll make it around the next corner. Whereas if you do that in the 4Age, you're like, okay, that's the end of my run. I'll start again.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally. Well, I think we've deviated a bit from where we're going to talk.
Yeah, most definitely.
So let's just talk again quickly about actual QR Matsuri at Queensland Raceway. And did you actually go to that event?
I didn't go last year. The last Matsuri I drove or that I got into was 2014.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no, 2015.
No,
sorry, 2015, sorry.
Yeah.
And that was really good. Like, unfortunately, I didn't know as many people as I do now.
Yeah.
So I got in the tandem lane with a few people that I did know.
Right.
And then all of a sudden that tandem lane became a 15-car train. Oof. And I spun out in the middle. And then ACA's most wanted 8.6 did like skids past me along with, I can't remember, one of the 80 GP A86s, and that was enough for me. I was like, nah, that was too close. So I'm just going to sit back in the single line for now.
Yeah.
Like being a street car and all that, having to drive it home afterwards. But no, it was definitely a great experience. If I was to do another Matsuri, though, I'd definitely want to drive with friends so we can tandem lane it the whole time.
My last two have been with friends, and we actually all had very different setup cars, and it was quite a bit different in the way of our lines, but then it rained and it was amazing. Like we were all then put on the one level, and yeah, it was just really good. I had a JZX81 with me, and I was driving my 8.6 at the time, I think, and I think my mate had a turbo old rear-wheel drive Celica, and what else was there? I think one of my other friends had his turbo 8.6, but yeah, following my friend in his JZX81, like that guy can drive, and I know he was driving with you.
Oh yeah, he drove with me at 8.6 day. That was an experience and a half.
Like I've actually got videos of that. If people ever want to watch that on YouTube, just type in 8.6 day at Archfield. I've got in-car footage from both cars as well as outside car footage, and that is
it was so much fun.
Tandem.
Yeah. His like super confident, I was getting a bit nervous, but no, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, totally. And as far as QR last year, can you think of anything notable from that happened? There's two events at Queensland Race, two Matsuris.
Yeah, two big Matsuris every year, which is good.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the first one got rained out a fair bit, didn't it?
Yeah, it did actually. I think that was the one where I was driving my 8.6 with the guys, and that was a really, really good event. But
yeah, I was working that weekend.
Yeah, but I forget who there was no guest driver.
No, there wasn't a guest driver that event.
In the October one, we had Okachan.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Unfortunately, I didn't get to drive as much as I wanted to see.
No, I think that was a bit of a letdown with the cars not being ready or something like that.
I'm pretty sure it didn't want to work on the day. They had a tune, but it didn't want to start. And
but
unfortunately,
I think you still drove some other cars there.
Oh yeah, I definitely think you got out in a few different ones, which would have been cool. But unfortunately, I didn't get to see it.
Yeah, totally. But one thing that really happens with QR Matsuris, even though it's a non-alcohol event, we're Australians. People love to party.
A little bit too hard.
Yeah, so actually some security was involved, I think. I'm not sure about the last one, but I think the one before that, there was some heavy security involved and police with people starting fights and stuff.
There was a big fight on short track. Someone crashed and one of the lovely people made a comment about the crash driver's girlfriend, and from there it went to throwing beer bottles on track, and then they had to close off short track an hour and a half early.
Wow.
So I guess I don't have a problem with drinking so much, but I think if it's going to end up being like that at a drift event,
it's something that shouldn't be at a drift event as well.
It's
it
was a bit far there, unfortunately, but
yeah, totally, I agree.
Yeah, so security at Matsuri's gone through the roof since then. I remember
think so as well.
I showed up in the Skyline to the last one, or was it in the 8s? I can't remember. But yeah, they were just pulling all the boot trims up, looking in the spare wheel wells, looking under the seats, everything.
But I mean, you can take away the alcohol, but you can't take away the fuckwit. So
yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, no, it's changed a lot from what it used to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's a bit of a sad thing, but it's still a very enjoyable event if you're driving.
Especially if you drive at March. That would be really good because I'm driving and I know that my friends are all driving.
I want to drive.
You should totally be one of my friends that are driving.
I'll try. I'm definitely going to try.
Yeah, well, you better try hard.
I'll try hard. I'll try much harder.
Any other things? Oh, well, what about Christmas? How is that? Now we're getting into some street talk. We're not talking about track talk. This is some streeto. Now there was a fair bit of stuff on the news about one of these. This was from the 2017 Christmas, but you were actually at the 2016 Christmas. Yeah,
2016 Christmas was insane. It was
pretty lit.
It was very lit. We had 15, 20 car trains going up on the mountain. This is just
a mountain road in Australia that people go up at Christmas time. They get a group of people to go up, and it's pretty hectic. There were some videos that came out from that, and it was pretty wild.
Yeah, definitely wild. We had such a huge mix of cars too.
Yeah.
So we had people with
Wasn't it raining?
No, it didn't rain. Not that one. No. We had people with semi-comp setup cars, so running semi-slicks and 400 horsepower SRs.
Wow.
And then you've got the next middle down, which is fast street cars, so 245s and boost up T28, and they were so quick up there. Yeah. And then there was Corollas.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. 8.6. There was a few K70s out there.
Yeah.
And then we had on the end, there was a few beginners there as well, which were giving it a go. And there was a couple of 31s, which was definitely one of the more interesting parts of the night when they were driving. But
yeah, right.
Yeah, no, it was very good. All in all, a good atmosphere when you do that. But
it is. But again, it comes with risk, when you're driving street, you've always got
put it on the line.
Cop trouble. But B, pedestrian trouble, dude. The couple of times that I've been passing during cars that are going up hills, they're they're actually cars will still come down even at like 3 a.m. You know, in the middle of nowhere.
Oh yeah, there's
still
always
always a chance of a car coming down.
There's always a big risk, you know. It's you got to try and minimize it as much as possible. Like if we've got a busy night up there, usually someone sits at the top and waves everyone down.
Yeah.
So stop people driving in the middle of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it's all risk and reward, I guess.
I think it's everything to do with risk. You know, even driving at Ebisu, you know, I don't even have a cage. Like I'm going to after I'm going to fit one this Matsuri in November, but up until now I haven't been driving with a cage. You know, and honestly, if I rolled that, I'd probably be dead. Like,
yeah, that's another thing with the 8.6 that I've seen some crash test pictures from America actually when they crash tested the SR5s.
Yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, definitely wouldn't mind a roll cage in my car.
Yeah, well, I've actually seen a dude at Ebisu a couple of years ago. He was in a JZX90 and he rolled it on North Course with a passenger in it, and the passenger was okay, but he didn't have a cage in his car. He was running a bucket seat, not harnesses though. He was just running a normal seatbelt and a bucket seat. But what happened was the actual bucket seat snapped in the rollover and his helmet was actually stuck between the steering wheel and the roof. And they actually had to lift the roof up with the forklift to actually free him because he couldn't get out because he was literally stuck between the roof and the steering wheel. Like,
that's crazy.
I've seen other dude. I haven't seen it. I heard about another guy that his whole face got caved in because it had an open face helmet, and the steering wheel actually like caved his face in, and he had to get some solid surgery in a foreign country, probably with very bad insurance level. You know, if any at all. I know that some people aren't covered when they go to racing at a racetrack like that. So.
Yeah, that's
safety first, guys. Like
100%. You know, like always try and make sure it's as safe as possible. You know.
Yeah, you know, minimize the risk. It can go bad so quickly. Like people don't think about it, but
it can happen anywhere as well. You know, like
like I've run the gauntlet these last 3 times that I've been to Matsuri without a cage, but no more. I'm pushing that car too hard. I'm pushing myself too hard. I'm still taking passengers as well. You got to think about not just you. You know, you've got to think about the people that you're with. And as well, if something happens to you, someone has to look after you. So, you know, like, you know, you're wheelchair bound for the rest of your life. Someone's got to feed you or whatever, you know, like you might not think that, you know, too much about, you know, oh, whatever, I'm only endangering myself. But it's not just that. It's the real life implications to other people around you as well. So, you know, be safe, guys. We might talk about streeting a bit on this podcast, but we're really trying to minimize the risk when we do go streeting, if we do. And even at the racetrack, you know, have your car set up properly, get it properly tech inspected, even if you have to take it somewhere to verify. Like if you're doing harnesses or cage and stuff, get it done properly.
Yeah.
Seriously, don't just follow some rando kid on YouTube that shows you how to bolt in a harness. Take it to a proper race prep place. Like you don't have to go to a drifting type place. You can go to like a road racing style workshop, you know, that they build like road racing cars or Time Attack or something, you know.
They'll have more than enough knowledge about how to set up those. Not just wrapping it around like your mate.
Yeah, exactly. I've had friends, you know, that I've had to set up their harnesses up correctly because they just wrapped them around it and it wasn't even secure. So, and they were driving like that for a year. If they had a serious accident, I can guarantee you they'd either be dead or
injured,
very, very injured. But I want to talk about that on another episode anyway. Today's just more of a recap. But is there any other events that you can think of? I know that we've kind of gone through most of the main ones, but or even any notable events over even the year before that what's your favorite event you've ever seen footage of? How about that?
Oh, that's a difficult one, eh?
Or your favorite event you've ever been to in your whole life, or even one you wish you could go to. What's an event or a track that you would love to visit?
I think out of the whole event things that I've seen in the past, would have been 8-6 day at Yamanashi Sportsland like 3 years ago.
Right.
That looked like the most fun time. Like,
Yeah.
that's such a cool track. And then,
Yeah.
8-6s everywhere is just a bonus.
I'd love to go to either one of the JZX days that they do in Japan, when there's only JZXs, and I think they do that at Baihoku. I think it is.
I know they've done JZX, like the 1J meeting.
Yeah, the 1J
Fuji.
meeting is the one I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
Fuji Speedway. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but they do it at a smaller one too, as well, I think. But
I haven't seen that. That'd be
Yeah.
cool as. Baihoku would be mint though. It's such
I would
a cool
love
track.
to drive Baihoku in
Oh.
an 8.6, NA 8.6, driving Baihoku. Oh my god,
That'd be scary.
That
I'd be
is
so
my
down.
dream. But I think my favorite track, that if I could pick any, I would love to drive Willow Springs, the one that goes up the hill and then comes back down. And there's something about that track. I've always wanted to drift that track in I want to drive that in like a 800 horsepower 2J stupid setup car and just hit that thing as fast as I can, and just do Bake City around it, vape clouds for days. And I think that if I could pick any bucket list thing to ever do in my life, I think it'd probably be that, or driving some other stupidly fast track, maybe like Irwindale or something like that, into some crazy power car, but drive it fast.
That'd be cool.
Have it set up for speed. I'm all about that speed.
Would be good fun.
Depends on which speed you're talking about. But
Yeah, it's Australia, so careful with that.
But yeah, cool. Well, I think we might even just leave it at that. And I think we've done a pretty solid recap of 2017. You guys have learned a bit about us as well, I think, but not too in depth. And any closing remarks or anything you're looking forward to this year that you can think of?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, Matt Siri this year will be interesting because they haven't released a guest driver yet. So
That's true.
That'd be a good surprise.
I don't know if they'll do one for March. Usually they only do one for October. So
either or would be interesting to see what happens.
I'm really interested to see what Luke Fink does with Archie this year, because he really did some good stuff with it last year. I'm looking forward to seeing what else they can do with that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. They recently did that Nico circuit style 3-wheel section. I was a little bit sad that they moved the walls back that
I heard
far.
something else about it that they've changed as well. I think it's got like a not a jump, but kind of like a bump that you
that's the Nico section at the back. It's like a raised part worth a drop off. So if you hit it with your rear wheels, you'll lift the fronts up. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
So it'll be like Nico entry. Yeah, oof. I'm real keen to give that a go. So
yeah, I'm really going to see Luke, if you ever listen to this, just do some good stuff with that track.
I'm keen to see what happens.
That can literally be the best track in Australia if it's done right. And so far with what you've done, I've been really, really happy with the outcome there. So
yeah, it's been good.
Yeah,
it's been real good.
Cool, and I'm looking forward to Ebisu this year. I go back in November, so if you see me out there, I'm really easy to spot. I've got a white R32 and it's got purple flames on a black bonnet, so it's damn easy to spot. You'll see me frying around North Course or Toge, or trying to do the jump at Minami and hit that Daigo line, but
you're not the backwards Daigo line where you're up the wall, please.
Yeah, not that line. Not that line. The good line.
The good line.
The pre-hitting the wall line.
Yeah, that's ideal. Stick to that one.
No, cool. All right. Well, I think we're going to look at doing this at least every fortnight. If it gets done more than that, happy days. But I'm going to try and do this at least every fortnight.
Yeah, it'll be good. Looking forward to it.
All right. Well, catch you later, guys.
Thanks for listening.